Good morning guys from Bali, Indonesia. Today I wanted to talk about a theory that a lot of people seem to have, which is that travel is super expensive and only for people that are really rich. I think that this is a unfortunate misconception that people seem to have because it prevents a lot of people from traveling. Travel can be expensive, yes, if you make it that way, but it can also be surprisingly affordable. I'm not necessarily trying to make a video about how to travel in the most budget way possible, even though if you have a limited budget, then that might be what works best for you. But really, rather than trying to say how to travel in the absolute cheapest way possible, I'm trying to give tips about traveling in the smartest way possible and not spending more money than you have to. So I'm gonna make more videos about all of these points, but these are just the super basic things. So this is in summary. Number one would be flights. And I know that a lot of people are really intimidated by booking flights, or they just have this idea that flights to Europe, say, are always thousands of dollars, and that's just how much they are, and they can't afford that, so they don't even look for flights. I've seen flights to Europe for as low as $150. They're not always thousands of dollars. So my first tip about that would be to use comparison websites for flights. Kayak, Skyscanner, Google Flights. Just go on there and kind of look around. Even if you don't have a specific place you want to go, just look on there and you're gonna get tons of ideas. I myself have never ever paid more than $300 per flight ever. That's kind of my rule. However, I do always buy one-way flights and I am very flexible with dates, so that really helps. An important thing to know about finding cheap flights is that you should try and fly in and out of the biggest airport that you can find. The bigger the airport is and the more central it is, the cheaper the flights are gonna be in most cases. For example, if you're trying to fly from Buffalo, New York to, let's say, Florence, Italy, then a flight straight out of that airport into Florence would be really expensive because those are both small airports. So what you'd do is you would want to get a train to New York, a big airport like JFK. You'd fly JFK to Rome. Both of those are big airports, and the flight now goes down to maybe even $200. And then you would take a train or even another flight from Rome to Florence. And that's just gonna save you a ton of money. If you don't believe me, here is a flight right here from Buffalo, New York to Florence, Italy. And if we go over here to Skyscanner, here is a ticket from New York to Rome. Cheapest one, $189. And the others, as you can see, range from $190 to $220, all a lot better than. And these are real flights, so if you want to go and book a trip for December 4th from New York to Rome, go and do it. I love booking flights and finding like the best ones, so I have a lot more tips on this that I'll put in a separate video coming up, but those are the basic things to know. Number two would be accommodation. So it's really important to find a place that you like when you travel, but you do not need to go and spend all this money at a fancy resort or hotel. I myself kind of try to avoid hotels when I travel. I pretty much never stay in hotels. So I use Airbnb most of the time. On average, I would say that I spend about $30 a night. Since I travel with Livio, that's split between two people, so $15 a night normally. If you were gonna stay in a hostel, then you probably pay that or more and have to share with all these other people. If you wanna try out Airbnb, then I have a link right below in the description, and if you use that link to sign up, then you will get $20 off your first stay, and I'll also get $20 off a stay for myself. And I'm not sponsored by them or anything, they just do that for everybody. Also, if you want to take it a step further and pay nothing for your accommodation, then there's actually plenty of ways to do that. Again, I'll make a separate video because it's a big topic to talk about. One of my favorite things for that would be house sitting. I have house sat before, a number of different countries. It's really a great way to stay and live like a local for absolutely free. So I actually house sat in Dubai for 2.5 weeks, and I paid absolutely nothing for accommodation, and did the same thing in Costa Rica. Didn't pay for rent, didn't pay for night stay at all. So obviously that's great. Another website that's great for this is workaway.info. There's one that's called workaway.com. It's not that one, it's workaway.info. All the links are down in the description. So on this website, you volunteer part-time. I think the maximum that the site is allowed is 5 hours a day. You volunteer and then they give you a place to stay for free and also meals. And there's some really great opportunities on that website. Some of my favorites that I've seen are like herding wild ponies in Mongolia, being in the Amazon rainforest, or dog sledding in Iceland. There's plenty of work on there all over the world. Another big expense while you're traveling is food. So when they're on a trip, a lot of people just go crazy with how they eat. Like, well, I'm on vacation, $4 for a coffee here, $10 for a meal here, $3 for a croissant here, and it all just really adds up. When I first started traveling in Europe, I was doing the same thing. I was spending so much money on food and I didn't even realize it. I think I was spending like crazy amounts on gelato in Italy. Well, that's excusable. So all of that eating out really adds up. When I'm traveling, I don't do that anymore. I don't eat out all the time. I really actually enjoy cooking at home, and doing that while you're traveling is gonna save you a lot of money. So I would say when you first get to a place, even if you're not staying that long, go to the supermarket. And just a tip, be sure to find the real supermarket, because in a lot of places the tourist supermarket is very different from the actual local supermarket. Even if you cook for yourself breakfast and lunch and eat dinner out, that is going to save you a lot of money. Number 4 would be attractions, and this is another thing that can really add up. So I recommend finding out what all these things actually cost, because sometimes the cost can shock you, but then you're already there and you're like, well, I spent all this time trying to get here. I didn't know the ticket was going to be $60, but I'm here, so let's just pay it. Make a list of what is your absolute top C stuff. Like, for example, when I went to Paris, I knew that I really wanted to go to the top of the Eiffel Tower. Even though it was kind of expensive, I knew I wanted to do it. So if there's stuff like that, then definitely go and do it. And actually, I would say don't worry so much about the cost if you know that it's like a once-in-a-lifetime absolute must-do thing for you that you'll regret not doing. But then also while I was in Paris, actually while I was walking to the Eiffel Tower, I saw this Ferris wheel. So I was like, well, I'm here and it looks cool, so I'm gonna go up. I waited a long time in line. I got there and it was like $40 to go on this 3-minute ride that was really nothing great. But you know, I didn't know how much it cost. I waited all that time in line, so I was like, well, I'll just go, I guess. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm saying you shouldn't really be spending money on. Also, there are always a ton of attractions in places that you can see for free. Another thing to keep in mind is that in certain places, there's gonna be touristy attractions that are very well reviewed and well covered online. And then there's going to be other attractions that are kind of the same, but that people don't really talk about because they're not so touristy. For example, when I went to Playa del Carmen in Mexico, huge touristy area, I knew that I wanted to go to a lot of cenotes. On a basic Google search, like best cenotes to see in Playa del Carmen, there's all these cenotes that are around 2,000 pesos, which is about $100 to get in. But when we asked the locals and kind of did some more in-depth research, we found tons of cenotes that are 20 pesos to 100 pesos, which is $1 to $5. And that's a big difference. And they were great, they were amazing. So definitely try and find those spots. So guys, there's so much more that I want to say, and I can think of like 10 more tips to give right now about saving money while you travel, or at least not paying money unnecessarily. But I don't want this video to get too long or too in-depth, because it's really supposed to just be a summary, or at least giving you the idea that travel doesn't have to be this huge expensive ordeal. Hope that you found this video useful and that you are gonna go out and start planning to travel. Thanks for watching. Bye!